I'm JP Hunt with InkSoft, and in this video, we want to showcase some new features and enhancements that are available in our most recent software release, 3.25. So first thing I'll share with you is the Request a Quote feature. So I'll explain how to use the feature, and we'll talk about the value that it provides to your business. So what I'll do now is log in as an InkSoft admin. I'll toggle the edit mode, and of course I'll access the component library by clicking the blue icon at the very bottom right-hand corner. Now I can scroll through all the components, or I can use the drop down at the very top to select a component category. In this case, I'll select Request a Quote, and then you'll be presented with the two layouts that are currently available, and of course we expand layouts in the future. So layout 1 is a boxed layout, whereas layout 2 is full width. That's the only thing that differentiates those two layouts. And of course you can change those at any point in time. I'll go ahead and select layout number 1, and I'm going to go ahead and start from scratch. Of course, InkSoft is intelligent enough to recognize if you previously configured a component, we allow you to load that previously saved data to save you time. Now, what I'm going to do when I say start from scratch, or when you're using this for the first time, is it's going to prompt you with a little modal window here that allows you to configure the quote form. So you have full control over this quote form, so you can customize it and really personalize it for that particular online store. So the first step is you need to put in the email addresses that you want to get a notification for every new quote/lead that is generated. So think about the persons in your organization that ought to get this notification so they can take action. So in this case, I'll go ahead and input an email address, but you can input more than one. And of course, you can remove those at any time as well. So this is a great way to make sure that team members are getting notification of a new quote so they can take immediate action to help accelerate closing that and converting that to a new selling opportunity. Now, as I make my way down, here you can customize the content that will display on the quote form page itself. So a heading, so that's going to be the title on that particular page. The subheading, which is optional, is going to be additional information you may want to display. So I'll just put in Request a Quote as the title, and that's the default. And then below that for subheading, I'll just copy Request a Quote and have that display just so you can see an example of that. Now, as we make our way down, you have the form fields that you can mark as required or active. So again, this gives you control over what information you want to solicit from your customer and what of that information you want to make required or you want to hide. So the first column is required. Anything checked in that first column will be required in order to submit the form. Active means it's going to be hidden or visible. So with that said, I can make decisions about, I don't want to solicit a phone number. That's a little bit too intimate or maybe too much information. Again, you can make these decisions. Maybe you want to say, I only want a lead if somebody's going to be willing to part with an email address and a phone number. Otherwise, it's anonymous and I can't take action against that. Now, I should make the point that name and email are locked and are required. At bare minimum, you need an email address in order to take action. And of course, that's the sort of the most passive of contact info. Most consumers are willing to part with an email address, but not necessarily phone. So again, this just allows you to make decisions about what you want to display, what's important to you. So make those decisions. You can change this at any point in time. Now, the last configuration is the success message. So once your customer or prospect, they submit a request for a quote, you can choose a success message to display. So by default, it's going to say, thank you for your request. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. However, you might want to add in more context and more information, maybe a personalized call out like, call us now to get a personalized quote. We'd love to learn about your needs, whatever it might be. So once you're done with this configuration, you can click Add Component, in which case the component is now added. Now, as always, anytime you add a new component, it's going to always save right above the footer, the very most bottom portion of the online store. But you can choose to use the arrow functions to move up or move down. So you can choose where to position the Request a Quote component. Some other function that's available on the left-hand side is the ability to choose the layout. So as mentioned, there's two layouts. One is a full width. So full width, if I apply background color, you can see how that takes up the entire span of the online store. But if I toggle to layout number 1, you can see that's a boxed layout. Now for layout number 1, you can choose to have a background color, and then you can choose to have a color for the box itself. So make whatever decisions you think are relevant, and you can see that updates live in real time. Now you also have the ability to put in a title and a subtitle as part of the actual component. So by default, it will always say need to know pricing. Let us know more about your needs. We'll reach out with a custom quote. So you can override the title and of course the subheading. You can even customize the button text. So get a quote, request a quote. You can change this to whatever you think is relevant. So I'll put in get a quote, and you can see that updates live on page immediately. Lastly, I can choose where I want the text to be positioned, so left, center, or right justified. So think about kind of breaking up and giving some dynamic sort of layout to your online stores. Maybe most of your content is centered, but you can think about breaking up and interrupting some of that by positioning your text uniquely. Now, once I'm done here, I can go ahead and click Save and Publish at the very top right, and that would now be live to my prospective shoppers. So let's now exit the edit mode, and let's talk about what this looks like to a shopper or a prospective customer. So what I'll do is I'll click the Request a Quote, and what that's going to do is load a new page. Now you can see the heading, which is the very top, so Request a Quote. You can see the subheading, which would display here. And you can see how we break up the quote into cards. So it's kind of a nice way to break up and interrupt so it doesn't look so imposing. So the first card is going to be contact info. And again, you can see the field, whether you've hidden it or displayed it. And then you can see a red asterisk would denote that that is a required field. Then you can see as we scroll down details. So the very first option or prompt is tell us about your project. So that's a great way to understand needs. Now I want to explain to you, as part of our lead form, our lead capture form on inksoft.com, we have a text entry that says, hey, tell us about your business and your interest in InkSoft. And it's amazing the response and the detail and the data that you can garner and gather as a result of this free-form field. So somebody can describe their needs, their event, give you the context that you would need to help translate that to a profitable selling opportunity. Now, as you make your way down, of course, here's a prompt for how many items do you need, so you get a sense of quantity. The next field is when do you need it by. So this is a great way to get a sense of when does your customer need this in hands, so you can realistically understand their timeline and whether you can deliver on that or not. And then you can see budgets. This is a great place to collect additional information that you'll need to bring context. Now, tell us about your art. So this is optional again, the ability to collect info about imprint. So whether the customer knows, hey, I have a corporate logo, it's 2 colors, I want that printed on the front, but we also want something printed on the back. They can detail that information. Next is the ability to upload art. So what I can do is from my computer drag and drop a file, or I can click select files and associate my art content with my quote. So of course I can click submit, at which point your customer would get that success message, which you had the ability to personalize, and you would get an email confirmation with a direct link to that quote to take further action. So that is request a quote. Again, the advice is experiment with this, add it to all of your InkSoft online stores, and look at the leads that you're able to generate. And of course, if you're able to convert one of those a month, that's new selling opportunity and new profit as a result of this new technology. All right, so let's jump in and talk about some additional enhancements. There's been a lot of behind the scenes functionality and optimizations. One thing that's visible that is a nice little enhancement is we've refined the fundraising component. So if I go to the fundraising component and click edit, you now have the ability to upload a fundraising image. So what I can do is browse from my computer an image, and this is a high-res image, and you can see that that's now inserted behind the title and the subheading for the fundraising component itself. So a nice little visual, subtle texture. Again, allow you to personalize the message and align that to the branding of the ad online store. Once you do upload an image, we automatically will assign an opacity, but you have the ability to control that opacity. So this is your ability to make that sort of a subtle texture in the background, so you can really control with this slider the opacity for that particular image. So that is the ability to upload a fundraiser image that will display as part of the fundraising component. Now, one other thing I want to share with you is if we go to settings and you go to store closed page, we've now added the ability to customize the messaging that displays when an online store has been closed. So of course you can put in a title, and this is a great way to bring personalization to this experience. So you can call out, the Tempe Aztecs online fundraising store has come to a conclusion. And then of course you can put in a description, so you can put in additional information that might be necessary. Maybe you have a surplus of inventory, whatever action or messaging you want to apply, you can put that in this dialog here. Then you have 2 checkboxes, which is the ability to display the store closed and fundraising graphic image. You can also display contact info, and you can choose what you want to display. So I'm going to go click this option at the bottom that says preview page, and this will give you a look at what that particular page looks like. So again, this is just a great way to confirm any of the changes or settings that you've made. So this brings to a conclusion the new features and enhancements as we've released InkSoft 3.25. Stay tuned as we release on a regular 2-week basis new function and new value to the InkSoft platform.